And I've never had the crow noises be so loud, but I think it's because I'm filming a little bit closer to the windows and doors of my apartment. I've never noticed that. Anyway, a Bialetti is like an Italian espresso maker that sits on the stove. It's like a stovetop espresso maker, if you don't know. And so you fill up the bottom like reservoir with water, and then you put like a basket, like how you make espresso, like a basket, and it has a little spout that goes down into the water, and then you fill it up with coffee grounds. And I'm just realizing that probably discussing the makings of coffee is like not relaxing. It's not coffee, like the coffee part is not relaxing. But in case you need to know how a Bialetti espresso maker works, and you put the basket in the percolator, and then you twist on the top, and it like tightens down, and there's a little valve, and then you put it on the stove, and you bring it to a boil, and it makes a mean cup of coffee. It's like stronger than coffee for sure, but it's like not quite as strong as espresso. But honestly, in my opinion, it like does the job quite well. And my best friend's parents always had one of these, and like when I was a kid, and my parents got me one, a really nice one, for when I went away to college. And unfortunately, I broke it, and by that I mean I lost a piece of it just this past year when I moved. And I was foolish, and I just like bought another one that wasn't nearly as nice. But then I realized that it's like a really nice like Italian brand, and so you can just like buy a part. I don't know, I think we live in such like a consumerist and like kind of, what I'm trying to say is that I think I don't think, I'll speak for myself, about repairing things very often. Like usually when something breaks, especially because I usually get kind of cheap things, when something breaks I'm like, alright, time to get a new one. And I think that's kind of like the mentality around a lot of our devices, a lot of our like machines and things that we use, at least for me. And I'm like embarrassed to say that, because that's not at all how I want my life to be. But I do feel like a lot of the things we buy are pretty cheaply made, and it's like cheaper to get a new one than it is to repair it. Whatever. Capitalism. And so I didn't even think, when my like stovetop espresso maker broke, that I could repair it pretty easily. Like I could just buy a new part, because that doesn't cross my mind when I think about something breaking. I'm not like, oh, let me get a new part and fix it. So I ordered a new one and started using it, and then I realized that I could have just ordered a new part, and then I could have fixed my old one. But I had already taken it to Goodwill at that point. So hopefully someone else finds it at Goodwill and gets the new part, is smarter than I am. But I have been doing a lot of research about how to use the Bialetti most effectively, because sometimes the coffee that comes out of it can be quite bitter, and I won't stand for that. And so I've been doing research, and there's a lot of debate, and if you have an opinion on this debate, I would love to hear it, about whether you should put cold water into the reservoir, into the bottom part, or if you should put boiling water into the reservoir. The logic, the reasoning that I've heard for putting boiling water in the bottom is that, and I used to put cold water in it, the logic that I heard for putting, I'm realizing I'm going into a really big rabbit hole right now, and I hope that you are just vibing you're just relaxing. You're just like here to listen to me talk about something that I'm kind of hyperfixated on. You know, there you go. Who knows if this is remotely interesting or understandable to anyone who doesn't have a stovetop espresso maker. But so the reasoning for putting boiling water in the espresso maker is that the water is on the stove, and when you heat the water from cold to boiling on the stove, even though the beans are not necessarily in contact with the heat source, they are getting heated up in the machine, in the espresso maker, and that can burn the beans and then make them more bitter. And so the idea is that you put boiling water into the bottom of it, and then you put the boiling water over like medium heat so it heats up slowly. And then you have a good cup of coffee. I could not more highly recommend a Bialetti or another kind of like stovetop espresso maker if you're a coffee person and you like to make your own. And recently then I've been like delving into trying to get my milk to be like foamy and frothy like at a cafe, because here's the thing about me, I love getting coffee out. Like nothing will motivate me to leave the house more than like being like, I'll get like coffee and pastry when I go out. But here's the thing, that's a really expensive thing to do. And so I've been really trying to like engage in the craft of making a good latte at home. Yeah, it's going fine. Obviously I don't have like fancy means to do it, you know, I'm using my like stovetop espresso maker and like my cheap like grinder, and a little like, you know, the frothers that you use your thumb like this, and it goes anyway. And then for deliciousness I added, it's kind of a nice sound, excuse the frog. I added some Starbucks pumpkin spice non-dairy creamer to it. I just like put that in with my milk and then like froth it up and warm it up, and then it tastes just like lightly sweet, which is really nice, which is like what I'm going for. I yesterday took a trip to IKEA. If you don't know, which you probably know or could infer, I love IKEA. I love Scandinavian design. I love like being able to like mall walk IKEA. I love things that are inexpensive but like functional. I love looking at all the like design and like all of that. I love like getting things for other people at IKEA. You know, I'm a big IKEA girl. This lampshade from IKEA. This pillow, also from IKEA. That thing that my plant is in, also from IKEA. Anyway, I really like IKEA's like winter holiday collection of things. And there was one thing that I wanted so badly. And let me just spoil the story by saying they didn't have it. If they did, I would be showing it to you right now. I'm obsessed. I want to find something like it because one of my coworkers is Scandinavian, or well, she grew up in Minnesota and her family is like Norwegian, I think. And she had this, which was like I think it was like passed down through her family tradition. And she would like bring it in to show our students. But it was like a little candle holder. Holds a little candle, and then there's like a post that comes up next to it. And on the top of the post is like a rotor, like a not a wheel, but like a fan kind of. the whole like brain fog. Just making words hard to find. Excuse me. Anyway, so what happens is the candle sits next to this post, and the candle heats up the air above it, and the heat of the air and the difference, so like the candle's on one side, the post is in the middle, the spinny thing is on the top. What is that called? Like when someone has a hat with a spinny thing on the top, what is it called? I don't know. Is there a word for that thing? I hope you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the difference in temperature of the air on either side of the post basically like makes it such that the wheel spins, and it's beautiful. It's really whimsical and charming, and like, I don't know, I saw it online from IKEA and I was like, this is something I must have. I love whimsy, I love candles. I love things that are like it's functional in the sense that it's a really cool thing and it does a thing, but it like it's not functional in the sense of like you need it to do anything, you know? I don't know, there's just something about it I was transfixed by, and that was what sent me on my journey to IKEA. But I just love their winter collection in general, like their holiday stuff, and I have been trying to decorate my apartment for the holidays, but first of all, it's quite small, and second of all, no, that's it. It's just small, and you know, I dream of having a Christmas tree. I dream of, you know, having like a wreath or kind of more festive, more festive holiday decor. But I don't know. I have my little like globe lights, and I have so many plants, and I got a couple weeks ago, I went to Target with my friend and got like a little golden candlestick that I've been really into. And I don't know, just trying to like bring light into my space. But IKEA is so inexpensive, and I was like, it's time to get some winter decorations. So I took myself to IKEA. It was a rainy afternoon. I was like, nothing better to do. I was really tired, but I was determined to go to IKEA, so of course I like mall walk IKEA, which we love her. I really wanted to be like the only person in IKEA, and that was absolutely not the case. I mean, I went like midday, but I was kind of like, I don't know if you ever feel this way, and it's not a feeling that I am fond of in myself, but of just like wanting to be alone and being annoyed by the presence of others, and not in a sense of like entitlement or like anything like that, just in like, oh, I would be happier if there was no one here and I could just like turn off that part of my brain that like pays attention to other people for a little bit. I don't know, I get really overstimulated in stores like very easily. I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were talking about like going to the grocery store, and now we just kind of like dissociate when we go to the grocery store. Anyway, I get really overwhelmed. So I wandered through IKEA. I don't know, was there anything that I saw that like really caught my eye? There was a giant shark plushie that I really wanted to get, but I was like, girl, you're an adult, you don't need a giant shark stuffy. But I'm regretting it now, so I probably should have gotten it. I just love sharks, and I love stuffies. I don't know. I have two childhood stuffies that still live with me now, and one of them I've had since I was a tiny, tiny baby. And maybe I've mentioned this before, but when I was 4 or 5 years old, I came home, grabbed this stuffy. It was this little yellow giraffe. She's like this big. It's a giraffe that's in baby clothes, and in the inside of it is a little rattle. It's like a baby toy. we like really roughed it. I mean, really roughed it. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think also part of the international travel piece with my family is that like we didn't do lavish things. We weren't like it was like hostels and like stuff like that. And then like so and like B&Bs and stuff like that. So it was like I don't know. I on the one hand don't mean to like paint my travels as like more lavish than they were, but I also want to acknowledge the like incredible amount of like privilege that it takes to be able to travel internationally a lot as a child. Like both things are true. So we went to Latvia and I was so excited. And it was an amazing experience. We stayed in this beautiful B&B that was in Meža Parks, which is outside of Riga, which is the capital city of Latvia, and we happened to be there at the time of this huge singing festival, which now that I know a little bit more has to do a lot with Latvian independence from Russia. And it was I was so happy to be there. Riga is a beautiful city. If you have the means to travel internationally and or even remotely thinking about going to like the Baltic region, I mean, I've now been to Estonia and to Latvia, and both are beautiful. Riga is just I was so taken by it as a 10-year-old. There's so many amazing things, I can't even begin to talk about it. I was just transfixed by like there was this museum about the like history of the Russian occupation of Latvia. And I was just like, my parents recall that like I was dead set on reading every word in that museum. And then there were like times where we went on this walking tour, which was very fun. And it was like an eating walking tour, so it was like a walking tour, but you got to go and like eat lots of good food. Great. And we went on this walking tour, and we were very far away from it ended pretty far away from the city, and so we had to get back, and like I was insistent. We get to this one part and I'm insistent. I'm like, we need to go this way, and my parents were like, that's not right. You know, I was like 10, 11. They were like, that's not right, but we are gonna trust our 10-year-old because she wanted to go on this trip. She wanted to come here. Like, let's just let her navigate her way back. And like, if we get lost, we will be fine. And so I lead them back to the city, and I say like, we're here, and we're like, definitely not. And they were like, no, like we're not any, like, you know, but let's figure it out. And I was like, no, we're like on the other side of this building. Like we were trying to go to like the front side of the building, and I had like somehow taken us to the back side of the building, and I was like, no, if we just like walk around the block, we'll be on the front side of the building. And they were like, we're lost, like let's figure out where we are. And I was like, come on. And so we walk around the block, and we're on the front side of the building, and they were like, what the fuck? Anyway, there was a beautiful dog that stayed at our B&B. Her name was Sarah. She was a German Shepherd, and I'd always been really afraid of German Shepherds, but she was so sweet and nice. And it was a really amazing experience. I mean, obviously you guys hear me talk about woo-woo things a lot, and I felt like, and I still feel like that like I had a past life, or I have some like knowing of Latvia in my body, in my mind. it just, there were like eerie things that would happen, and I would just be like, oh yes, of course. Especially as a younger, like I said, 10 or 11-year-old, you know, that's just, as an older person, you know, you can contextualize it and like, oh, coincidence, or like, oh, whatever, but as a young person, I think it's harder. Anyway, this was all to describe this stuffed animal that I have, and her name is Latvia, and, yeah. I have now, since then, been back to Latvia twice. I've been there 3 times. I went after I graduated high school. One of my parents' good friends, actually, from college, he married a Latvian woman. They lived in Hungary together, but her family has a summer home on the coast of Latvia, and when I was 18, we went and stayed in her family's summer home for Midsummer. It was obviously before the movie Midsummer came out, but we got to kind of participate in all the traditions that her family had with my parents and their college friend and her and me, and then their other 2 college friends came and joined us, and we played lots of music, and we made floral crowns, and we butchered a lamb and went to the farm, I think, where the lamb lived, and there were lots of, like, we went out at night and, like, went to, like, festivities and watched as they rolled this, like, burning ring of, like, plants, like, big into the ocean. It was very big and very cool. Yeah, it was amazing. We swam in the ocean, and the ocean in Latvia is like the Baltic Sea. I mean, it's a little bit like swimming in like the Washington or the Oregon coast. It's like not, it might be fun like 1 or 2 days in the summer, you know, but it was such a beautiful experience, and like a really unique experience to go to this place with someone who grew up there, and to get to like go to rural Latvia, like, is, I mean, just to see people's lives and their experiences and get to meet these amazing people who live lives that are so different than mine. We went to this farm when I was there when I was 18, and I think it wasn't the farm where we got the lamb, but they made bread, and the woman who worked there was like a baker. And there's a whole family who ran this farm, but she made this amazing like rye bread, and I just remember like that I was transfixed by like the house that she she had this whole like baking house. It was outside of their own home, and she would just, and there was this trough, this wooden trough that she like kneaded the dough in, and it was just amazing. I mean, and I remember like her whole family was there, and they had like kittens, and like she had a little kid who was probably like 2 or 3, and it was just running around, and it was very sweet. And you know, like as an 18-year-old, I was like playing, like, you know, it's one of those amazing experiences too, of like having a language barrier but still communicating with people. So I was like playing with this little kid, and that's always something that I've enjoyed, is like meeting people, and like especially playing with little kids, like cross-culturally, you know, because there's so much like language and expressiveness that happens through play. You know, as an educator, I feel like that's true, but also just as a person, like, I don't know, it's really joyful. So then I also went back to Latvia when I was 22, I think. No, 21, 22, whatever, after I graduated from college. And think I'm gonna call